Hello again. I'm back here with another video. Let us hope that I will be able to receive comments from Ahab, because I don't know, I've had some complications with the website lately, to where I haven't been able to receive anything from him, but we'll see, I suppose, what happens. Anyway, I'm back with another book review. Yes, another book review. It's a short book this time that I have for you, and I suppose you could say it's a precursor to, I suppose, the genre of Gothic literature. And the author in question, I suppose, really did sort of invent the genre, I guess you could say. And the author is Anne Radcliffe, or Radcliffe. And the book in question is The Castles of Athlin and Dunbayne, published in 1789, believe it or not. This book is that old. As you can see, this book's very short. It shouldn't take you that long to read, maybe just a few hours or so. This book took me about 4 days, and I'll get into that later. So, basically, I suppose the meat of the story, it is about, I guess, the feuding families of two castles in the Scottish Highlands, one family being called Athlin and the other Dunbayne. It takes place in medieval times, and basically the reason why they're feuding is because the head of the Dunbayne castle has murdered the head of the Athlin castle, and I suppose the current Earl at the time, oh God, what's his name? Osbert, and wants to take revenge on the Earl of the Castle of Dunbayne, and does so with the help of I suppose, a trusted friend that he comes across called Elaine, and through various attempts, including ones that do end up in imprisonment and escape, they end up I'm saying a lot. They end up quashing the regime of the very, I suppose, tyrannical Malcolm of Dunbayne, Earl Malcolm of Dunbayne. And all the while, you get a bit of an insight into the lives of the Athlin Castle, specifically Mary, who is the the sister of Osbert, and with whom Elaine, who is a man, by the way, happens to be involved in a somewhat romantic relationship. Now, the book, that's basically what the story is about. Let's just say the first 70 pages of the story. And I must say, those first 70 pages I thought were fairly decent. It's the last, I don't know, like 20 or so that I thought were, like, I suppose, very unnecessary. It felt as though that what was in these pages was a separate story involving these characters. But I suppose the length of this book seemed a bit too short. The publisher had said to Anne Radcliffe, this is too short, we're not publishing this unless it's about 100 pages long. So she decided to tack the end bits on at the last minute. And the ending really is actually kind of mediocre. It sort of ends up being like a soap opera, really, with a very cliched, finding out there was a son, a lost son or something or other, and really, I sort of lost interest in it by that point. And by the end of the thing, I felt kind of disappointed, really. I know this is her first novel. She's written others, like The Italian, The Mysteries of Udolpho, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and The Romance of the Forest. I have not read those, but I suspect that those are better than this. And also, a reason why I didn't particularly like this book is because, well, it's not. I know, as I said, this is her first book, her first novel, when she wrote when she was about, I think, 20 or so. And it shows, because far too many times in this book there are instances of repetition that are sometimes amateur in execution. Like, for instance, this one scene, it seems as though in one chapter somebody's heart is, quote, torn by contending emotions. And then in the next chapter, somebody else's heart is, quote, torn by contending emotions. And then also there is a scene wherein, if I can find it, I don't know, really. But there is a scene where somebody, I suppose, is, I'm not sure, maddened, almost, or troubled almost to frenzy. If I can find it. Oh, yes. Helen started on her imagination and stretched her brain almost to frenzy. Right there. And then two very long paragraphs later. Nothing wrong with long paragraphs. If done right, they're okay. Two very long paragraphs later, you see, harrowed up her soul almost to frenzy. Now, I am unsure if this is a first draft or whether, I don't know, the editor, if there was such a thing back then in the, I don't know, 18th century, had caught this or not. But that seems kind of redundant. I mean, you can come up with something else other than almost a frenzy. Harrowed up her soul madly, or perhaps beyond comprehension, or something of that nature. Almost a frenzy. When you used it 2 paragraphs prior, that's just mad. And also the whole book itself is told in this very tell, don't show way that sort of kind of takes you out of the story and really makes the experience sort of a bit hard to interpret and very, oh God, how do you say, distancing. Just because, I don't know, I suppose she's just stating all the actions, and some of the stuff is worded weirdly too, like sentence structure and syntax and everything like that. I can understand this is an old work written very long ago, but to read it in the 21st century and to encounter this many errors is just, I'm not too sure really what to think. And let's see if I can think. There's one more gripe that I did have about this book. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm bashing this book, but I really can't think of it. Oh yeah, the fact that it took me 4 days to read. This book is about 115 pages. If you do not count this particular edition, the introduction and the supplementary notes. The reason why it took me 4 days is because I had company, and when you do have company, it takes a lot out of you, it fatigues you, and you get hardly any reading done. And the little reading that you do get done, you have to do it most likely before they get up, out of sight, so that you can spend as much time with them as possible, while by the same token getting reading done. This book, I suppose you could say, is the longest short book I've ever read, though I can say this thing. It was much better than Gustave Flaubert's November. That book was utterly atrocious, and was about the same length too. But this book, I would say, in the end, I'm glad I read it. If you're wondering why I have this in my collection, it's because I acquired it for free at my school library a few years back, when they were going through books to put into the system, and I snagged this one because I know them very well, and didn't give it a read until lately. But I'm glad I read it. I never have to read it again, and yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I know it's Gothic literature, but it really didn't seem all that striking to me. It seemed kind of plain, very not run of the mill, but just sort of formulaic. I'm not sure if Ahab has read this or any of Anne Radcliffe's work. If you have Ahab, do let me know. Perhaps her other novels are better, because this one I did not particularly enjoy that much. No, I can't say that. I'd say it was all right. It was all right. Better than November by Gustave Flaubert. That's all I could say. And I suppose that's all I have to say on this book, because I'm basically just becoming just about as repetitious as this book, really. So I am going to go ahead and put this book over here, and I will, I suppose, wish you a very good day. I'm hoping that Ahab will be able to leave comments on this video and give me insight as to, I don't know, this author or any other book she's written. And yes, I suppose I'll see you around. Good day.